I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today we're outside Adelaide to have a drive in the new Nissan Juke Nismo RS, a performance halo model for the quirky Nissan Juke range, which also has recently come in for a range of 2019 updates. Now, the Juke Nismo isn't just a styling package, although you will note there are a number of aesthetic additions to the car. You also get a beefier engine under the bonnet in the form of a 1.6 litre turbocharged four-cylinder, making 160 kilowatts of power and 280 Newton meters of torque, slightly less for both figures if you go for the CVT Auto. But most people who get this car are going to point straight in the direction of the 6-speed manual gearbox. Now, the Juke Nismo is priced just above 37 grand for that manual, so it's certainly pitched as a premium small performance car option. So we'll have to keep that in mind when we have a look at it and have a drive of it around here today. But it certainly is a distinctive character, isn't it? The Juke never shied away from attention to start with, but the Nismo dials it up with classic red highlights, including these bright red mirror caps here, big glossy black 18-inch wheels wrapped in Continental Conti Sport rubber, and other things to make sure that you know that you bought the best possible Juke. So first of all, we'll check out the interior of the Juke Nismo RS, and then we'll jump inside this thing and take it for a bit of a fang on some of the good roads around the South Australian countryside. We only got a brief moment to present the Juke Nismo on camera at the car's Australian launch, but these shots of the interior show you what you can expect in the cabin. Broadly, it's acceptable, but not really anything more. The Juke is a 7-year-old car, and as such, the design, the in-cabin tech, and the materials all feel a generation behind, especially the dated 7-inch screen with no CarPlay or Android Auto. The exceptions are the Nismo-specific additions, which all feel really nice. The Alcantara steering wheel means business, the leather shift knob feels good, and these seats are truly excellent. Tight, supportive, and comfortable. The Juke Nismo RS is actually a really nice car to sit in, certainly better than a standard Juke. The back seats are tight. In these shots, the front seats are quite far forward. The lack of air vents back there also feels a bit nickel-dimey at almost 40 grand. But really, buying an extroverted little sports car like this is all about driving. Keep in mind, on the car's national launch, we drove on the road, not this track, though from this file footage Nissan produced for us, the Nismo looks like a hoot on a tight circuit. What the Nismo does is it beefs up the TIS model's 1.6 litre turbocharged four-cylinder petrol engine to produce 160 kilowatts of power with the 6-speed manual, or 157 kilowatts with the continuously variable automatic. For comparison's sake, in the TIS, you get 140 kilowatts of power and 240 Newton meters of torque, so there is something like a 15% upgrade in power, not something to sneeze at. Now, you do get a touch more power in the manual, but the trade-off is that the 6-speed is front-wheel drive only, whereas the CVT gets all-wheel drive, and usually that won't make too much of a difference because it's not like the Juke is going too far off-road. But today, as you can probably see, it's pouring with rain here in South Australia, and as such, the front-drive Juke manual Nismo does tend to scrabble for grip, and there is quite a bit of torque steer that you encounter as a driver. Not that that's always necessarily the most disturbing thing, because effectively the Juke Nismo feels like a bit of an old school hot hatch with plenty of things to manage. The front tyres are looking for grip, and you have to make sure you keep this thing exactly where it wants to be in its torque band, because there isn't all that much happening at the top end. You do have to short shift it, make sure it stays happy. The engine itself isn't bad. There is plenty of go, however, there isn't much in the way of inspiring noise coming out the back of it. Instead, there's lots of induction noise. It sounds kind of fizzy, a little bit gravelly, but you know, it's not too bad. It would just be nice to hear a slightly more characterful exhaust note. A real highlight is the Juke Nismo's steering. The steering is very quick and direct, and there's a nice heavy weighting to the tiller. Plus, you feel like you're holding onto a serious steering wheel. It is trimmed in Alcantara, and it feels and looks like that in the 370Z Nismo, which is pretty cool. The handling is entertaining as well. You sort of feel like you're sitting quite high up here, and the Juke certainly does ride a little bit higher than a hatchback, but overwhelmingly the feeling is one of a performance 5-door hatch, which is pretty nice. The ride quality is good, it's firm, certainly you can feel the bumps, but it doesn't allow undulations or potholes alike to disturb the ride. You don't feel like you're being thrown around when you hit bumps. Instead, the whole thing is pretty composed. Road noise isn't so good over coarse chip, but over smoother surfaces, there's not really any problem. The Duke's main issue is that because it's built on what is now an aging platform, you can tell a little bit of age from up here. It does feel like a slightly old-fashioned performance small car, and of course you can't really get modern safety features. The lane departure warning, for example, just makes a really annoying beeping sound when you go over the lane marking rather than actually correcting it like a modern lane keep assist system would do. So, those are my impressions of the Nissan Juke Nismo RS. Certainly this is a very niche product, but hey, we like niches around here. High riding, compact, and remarkably fun to drive, the Duke will attract a certain kind of driver. The looks won't be for everyone, but this car delivers an old school hot hatch feel with a Rorty engine, notchy shift, sticky tyres, but an open diff and front drive giving you plenty to manage. Sure, it's not that modern in the cabin, and the Duke strays dangerously close to high-end i30N pricing here, but it isn't trying to be that car. If you like the look of this, you'll probably like how the Duke Nismo drives. So do go and give it a test run.